I think the fact that I'm starting this video not in the like, oh hey, hi, Luke here, let's talk about, NRL, let's play a rugby league game. I think you can understand the gist of this video. You can understand this is a pretty serious video. You understand I'm not in the best of moods as a Bulldogs fan. I'm a current Bulldogs member. Definitely after a game like that, you start to question and consider, why are you a Bulldogs member? And that's the honest truth. I know there's going to be all these people who are like, you got to stick with your team through the good times and the bad times. But end of the day, why would you support a team that produces a 66-0 defeat? I just sat and watched the press conference. Reid Marnie, Cameron Ciraldo. For Cameron Ciraldo to come out, you know what this reminded me of? And this video is probably going to be very reminiscent. As of late, I've been doing a lot of these rant style videos between being a New South Wales Origin supporter, being a Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs supporter. It's not been a good time to be an NRL supporter, and not just this year, but the past couple of years. And I think this is where it all kind of boils over, and this is where I think you have guys like Ciraldo and you have guys like Reid Marnie who come in, and they sort of look at it as, season to season. We're comparing, we're just looking at this season. What he's got to understand is that this isn't just this season. This is Bulldogs fans sitting through piles of shit, season after season. And you know what? A lot of the same players still there, doing the same old shit. And you know what's the most frustrating part? We actually have a much more talented squad, a much more talented side. Even the current side that they fielded right now, I know people are going to say injuries and such. The current field that we sided right now was better than some of the ones that we won the wooden spoon with. And you know what? I think that's what's most disappointing, the fact that we just lost to a side. Cameron Ciraldo came out and said, I said to the boys, they're quite disappointed, they're in the sheds, and I said, you're going to come up against these top 4 quality opposition sometimes. Get the fuck out. The Knights are not a top 4 quality opposition. They are a bottom 4. They're literally 2 points above us. They're literally in the same spoon battle as us. And then what do? They put 66 fucking points on us. And I understand I'm starting a little bit fired up here, but the press conference really did it for me. I was already frustrated watching the game. And, after I got home from work and I saw that it was 12-0. And that's when I started watching from. And I thought, this is not good. Definitely not looking good. One of my mates is a Knights supporter. He said, looks like it's going to be a Ponga masterclass. And I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at the fact that Knights won this game. I'm a Bulldogs fan. I feel like I'm a realist at this point. You've seen enough videos from me. I'm not delusional to say that the Bulldogs were some gun side and they got unlucky. But you know who's delusional? Cameron fucking Ciraldo. You know what his press conference basically was? Very Brad Fittler-esque. And that's what I mean by getting very frustrated talking about the New South Wales side. I'm getting frustrated talking now about the Bulldogs side. He kind of put it down to as they tried hard, but they're just a little unlucky. They tried hard and they're a little unlucky. They lost 66 fucking nil. 66 fucking nil. And, alright, the Tigers last night. You know what? I think the thing is the West Tigers lost last night. 74-0. Set a record after, 80 odd years or whatever it had been, right? They were the laughing stock. Keyword is they were the laughing stock. They set a record. We didn't even lose that much, and we are now the laughing stock of the NRL. You know why? Because we lost to a side that's in the wooden spoon battle with us. And we didn't just lose to them, we lost 66 fucking nil. We didn't even look like scoring. Very last play of the game, Alamonte. One of the worst performances I've ever seen. And I will say, this guy has had one of the worst seasons in general. I know he's young. He's very hyped up. And, it's hard to live up to the hype. And I've sort of been waiting and I've been making excuses for this guy. And Ciraldo shifts him from left to right for the first game of the year. Shifts him away from Addo Carr. Chucks him next to a young, debuting essentially 5'8". He's got Ockenball there who's... I don't know how Ockenball is fucking playing NRL. Dead set. I know there's a bit of a meme going now, and I've definitely been a part of that, and, we've laughed at Ockenball, but that's the whole point, is that it's a meme because, he scored a try randomly, but he's been dog shit for years. Absolute dog shit, whether it's a winger, whether it's a second rower, and I know, I've actually been one who's he's actually looking a lot better in the second row, but being better in the second row than what he was as a winger, it doesn't take much. If you go from being a 1 out of 10 to being a 3 out of 10, still an improvement. Doesn't mean you're good. Ockenball is a starter. He's a starter. Some of the efforts, right? And this is what really is bothering me, is that Kevin Serrato came into that press conference, right? And I'll get to read Marnie. Kevin Serrato got into that press conference, and I don't expect him to sit there and just absolutely slam the side, right? But don't come out and say that we got a little bit unlucky and that the effort was there and that you're pleased with the efforts for, big parts of the game. You lost 66-0. At no point did I think we would actually defend a set. And that's the honest truth. When the Knights got to the 5th tackle and put up a kick, I thought, why in the fuck are they putting up a kick? There is zero reason for them to put up a kick. Just run it. You're going to score. They were throwing random passes. They were taking it to the line. Someone would hit a hole. Fitzgibbon was hitting a decent hole. But by no means were the Knights playing absolutely amazing. They were not playing absolutely amazing. And I think that's another thing too, is that it's not a case of like we got blown off the park by this amazing side who's coming first or anything like that. It's the fact that we got blown off the park by the Knights, who they've got a couple good players and Ponga and such, but this is them just hitting a line, some of the most basic lines, throwing the pass and just running straight through it, sometimes untouched. Kevin Serrato came from the Panthers with a huge reputation of being some whiz coach that they needed to have, and the Bulldogs landed this absolute genius of a coach. And what have we seen? We've seen a guy who swaps between Kyle Flanagan, Josh Reynolds, Carl Oluwapu, and now Carla Brajed, hooks him, but leaves the guy who is literally causing the tries, which is Alamonte, on the side that he hasn't played all season. Hayes Perham plays every single week. Hayes Perham is genuinely the worst fullback I've ever seen. I'm 27. He's genuinely the worst fullback I've ever seen. I'm not talking about the worst fullback for the Bulldogs. I'm talking about the worst fullback I've ever seen play NRL, period. He's not even under contest. Jake Averillo, when he came into fullback last year under Mick Potter, that's when our season kind of turned around. So what's the genius play here? Oh, that's right. We're losing Averillo too, right? And probably Alamonte. We're putting up with this pile of shit season. Oh, he's got potential. So we're putting up with this shit. We've got Gerald Skelton, who also has potential, and he's staying with the club. So then Bronson Sherry, a drug cheat, who had pretty bad hands to start off with, hasn't played for 4 or 5 years. We're signing him. At best, he was like a guy with potential. So we're losing Averillo, right? He's a guy who's played all these different positions. Last game 2 weeks ago, we had a bye too. We had a bye. We had plenty of time to prepare for this one. We don't really have any Origin players for the most part. We have a side that should have been primed and ready for this one, but instead we go in with a rookie 5'8" who gets hooked. I think at halftime it was. He gets hooked. We have Jackson Topany, who has been a standout in New South Wales Cup for years and years and years. And even when he's played NRL, he's looked very good. Curtis Moran, I'm surprised he actually got as much game time as he has. He's looked pretty good, which exactly sort of represents why he probably doesn't get picked, because we don't seem to pick guys who play off form or actually show a bit of heart and a bit of desire. It's actually a shock Carraz actually gets picked every week, because he puts in more heart and effort than any other player in the side. So you'd think that he's probably going to get dropped too at some point. Meanwhile, you know what? Chuck Ockenbaugh back in the wing. Chuck, let's just tank this season. Let's just tank it for the wooden spoon. We're going for records, man. We didn't quite hit the record of biggest loss this season, but maybe we can go for the wooden spoon. Let's set a record. Now I feel like I'm starting to talk a little bit of nonsense here, and that's just the frustration taking over, but you can see I have some points here. Jaden Ockenbaugh is a guy who couldn't cut it as a winger. We've seen better wingers try and transition into the forwards than Jaden Ockenbaugh, and you can argue as much as you want about injuries and all that sort of stuff, but I just mentioned a guy like Jackson Topany who is dying for an opportunity. And you know what happens? He finally gets an opportunity and he gets shifted into the centres every fucking time because he picks a guy who shouldn't be in the side. And then they have to switch things up. And, Serrato's been picking Oluwapu and, he wasn't starting him. Then he was bringing him on halfway through a game. And I don't understand. I don't see a light at the end of a tunnel. Now, some other sides in the past, in terms of other NRL clubs, you've seen them not get the results. Say for the Warriors, for example, they're not winning every single week. You don't expect them to win every single week, but you can understand what they're trying to achieve and where they're going, and you can see progress. With the Bulldogs, that's what we wanted to see, and I'll speak for all the fans. That's all we wanted to see. I know there was a little bit of talk about, top 8s and all that sort of stuff, and that would have been absolutely incredible. But this year wasn't supposed to be the year. Next year is supposed to be the year. But as this season's gone on, all this has done has killed our kind of hope for next year. And I think that's what's been the most disappointing part. And for Reid Marnie to get up there, and the Bulldogs team got booed at halftime. And they got booed throughout the game. And they absolutely should have been booed. If I was there, I would have booed them. You can't sit there and say that they don't deserve to get booed. If I'm shit at my job, you know what happens? People ring up and complain. I get disciplined from my management. That's just the reality of working a job. These players want to claim that this is just a job and, they're everyday people and that sort of stuff. But then they don't want the repercussions of what being an everyday person is. If you are shit at your job and you aren't performing, people get sacked. People get moved on. People get tossed to the curb. That's the reality of the situation. These guys get to turn up next week after literally, they conceded 10 tries. They conceded 10 tries, right? And I will say, granted, this isn't it doesn't happen every week, but the Bulldogs have been getting touted up a fair bit as of late, and I understand at times they've looked fairly decent. At times they have, yes. Missing a couple of players. We're realists here. We're not trying to say that the Bulldogs should be winning the comp, and that's where Cameron Serrata comes out and says, I love these fans. That they expect to win. They've got the winning mentality. They expect to win. Now we fucking don't. We haven't won for years. The last time we won was 2004, 19 years ago. We don't have these expectations for you to win every week, right? We have the expectations for you to be competitive. 66-0 is not competitive. Don't try and come out and say that you're happy with things. Read the room. Say you're just to point. Bullshit. You can go in, you can tell the players and say, hey, I've got to say this to the media. Do whatever you got to do. Don't sit there and say to your fan base who pays their hard-earned money. For me, I'm a guy. I'm a member. Should I be a member? Probably not. Probably can't exactly afford to be a member. But I am a member. And for them to sit there and say that, Reid Marnie say they don't have the right to do that. What do you mean? What do you mean we don't have the right? Like I said, if I'm performing poorly at my job, people ring up and complain. And they're less invested in any of this. So the fact that you think that you can go out and perform how you did. And this is the same Reid Marnie who kicking on the fourth and, playing like shit. He's the captain of the side. He's the leader of the side. And what does he say to the fans? Hey, don't appreciate the boos. Well, you know what? We don't appreciate getting beat 66 fucking nil. And I understand the sentiment that, you are more disappointed than us and you're the one actually playing all that sort of stuff. But you guys also don't live in this, real world reality. You live in your own little bubble where, it's the footy bubble. It's not the real bubble. It's not a fan's bubble. It's not the everyday public bubble. It's just, that's the reality of the situation. You can get beat 66-0 and you're still going to be there next week. Being a footy player also doesn't mean that you're invested in a club. You're invested in your own performance. You're invested in the boys around you. I understand that. And to a degree, yeah, you are invested in the current club you're playing with at the current time. But this was the same Reid Marnie who was playing for the Eels last year. Was a Bulldogs. He left. Went to the Eels. He's come back for more money. This, you don't expect them to have the same sort of passion, but don't sit there and say you don't have a right to do that. And Cameron Serrata even sort of cut in. He himself sort of cut him off, and he goes, "Oh, well, I guess they do." So it's you understand it. You do understand it. You just don't want to understand it at times because it's not what you want to hear. And it's extremely frustrating. And I'm usually one of these guys who kind of supports the players, and I try to look at it from the players' point of view. But this time, I just can't do it. I can't sit here and cop Cameron Serrata saying that the effort was there when some of the tries, I saw there was a try that went straight through the middle, and Jaden Okunbor was kind of just, I don't know what he was doing. And I know I keep talking about Okunbor. Okunbor probably is not even the worst one. Hayes Perham is 100% the worst one out of all of this. Alamonte today was definitely the worst one. Overall in the season, he's not been the worst, but the fact that he was playing as poorly as he was, and the flick pass last play of the game is the best example of it. And this is a guy who's off contract. This is a guy who's been super hyped up. And the commentary was still trying to hype this kid up as if he's done anything in NRL. This guy, when he scored a first try, it was an absolute miracle that he actually scored it. He's not some wonder kid. We've seen absolute wonder kid come through, especially in the centre position, and he's not one of them. He's not even the best centre at the club right now. He might not even be in the best two centres at the club right now. For me, Braden Burns is a better centre than him, but the fact that they keep playing him through potential. How many players have we seen get picked through potential and not go onto it? a lot of them, and a lot of them at the Bulldogs too. I just want to point that out. But we've seen teams in the past. We've seen Jack Cogger, who's now playing at Penrith, looking pretty good. We've seen us compete with guys like Lachlan Lewis playing in the side. We've seen guys, Nick Meaney was at our club, couldn't get a go at fullback. Now he's the Melbourne Storm fullback. We've seen a lot of guys who should have been given opportunities, not given opportunities. We've seen a lot of guys let walk who are much more talented and a lot better than the guys that we have right now. The Bulldogs act like, we have this forward issue, and we don't have the forwards, and yet we let so many guys walk year after year, and we don't replace them, and we hope that we end up with guys like Max King and Jacob Preston. It's lovely to have them guys, but we're going to throw huge money at guys like Davida Pangai, and I'll say kick out of that because he remains to be seen, but we've thrown some big money at some big names, Luke Thompsons and such, and they just haven't hit. And then years later we go, oh, we just don't have any forwards, and it's like, we don't have any forwards because you just chucked our whole fucking salary cap at all these big guns and all these untested forwards, and now we don't have any forwards, and then the rest of it's been chucked on like wingers and other guys in just random positions. Meanwhile, our spine is absolutely dog shit. We have Burton, who has no control over a game. He's got a great kicking game, but he has no control over the game. Been trying to manufacture it rather than try and bring through an actual halfback, and Kyle Flanagan isn't it, I will say that. But rather than either look elsewhere or come up with some other solution, we just keep sort of fiddle-farting around and changing a couple players here and there. And I thought it was funny that Cameron Serrata came out and said that he changes the team every week, because that's definitely not the case. And there's just so many things you can nitpick and pick apart out of this press conference that will really grind your gears if you're a Bulldogs fan. But even if you're an NRL fan and you've observed the Bulldogs games, you will understand why we're frustrated. And you'll understand, it's like I said, it's not just a matter of this is the only game we're frustrated over. It goes back to the previous game, to the previous game before that. And the fact that he comes out and says he sees improvements. How can you say us losing to the Sharks by like 30-odd, we played better than that and we lost 66-0? How can you genuinely come out and say that? How can you actually say that? That's literally it. If I'm playing a game, right? If I'm playing anything, if I'm at work, if I come out and I have a much drastically worse performance, worse by double, right? And I already thought I played as bad as what I could, and I come out and get beat by double that. How can you spin that some sort of way as that being a positive? That's what's the most frustrating thing. And I know this was going to be a rant video. I know you guys expected it. And like I said, the fact that I'm uploading this on the same night it happened, I've already uploaded today. I think that should kind of tell you exactly what I'm feeling at the moment. But look, it's quite emotional times for Bulldog supporters. Tigers fans can probably relate, but Tigers fans have also had year after year after year of shit. The Bulldogs have had recent times of shit where we've been promised that we're going to get back to the promised land, ironic enough, and we look like we're getting further and further away despite all the signings, despite new coaches, despite who we bring in, any changes we make. It just seems like we're getting further and further away, and yet we keep getting told that we're just sort of being reactionary and we're just being dramatic, and it's not exactly the case. But try and find results. Like, what results are we looking at? We're in 14th spot. We're in the battle for the wooden spoon yet again. We had Mick Potter last year having us actually look like a side who could compete with a lot of the top sides. He gets the arse. We bring in another coach, and it's the same old shit. And look, here we are again making another video talking about the Bulldogs sucking, but this time not only sucking, but nearly record-breaking sucking. So look, I'm going to end this one here because I'm ranting, and you can see I'm getting quite frustrated. I'm getting quite heated. Had a couple hours to stew on this one. I feel like even if I made this video tomorrow, maybe I could talk a lot more about it and, maybe more in depth and touch on a few things. But, look, end of the day, effort's not there. I don't care what they say. The effort's not there at the moment. This whole thing about the culture being a big deal, that definitely has not played a part in any sort of way. And I don't think it ever has for any sort of NRL side. It just seems to be a thing that they seem to toss up a lot, being like the culture of the club. But realistically, I don't know where the Bulldogs go from here. I really don't. I just don't see a light in the tunnel, and I'd love for someone in the comment section below to tell me otherwise, or either bring in force exactly why I'm right. Going into the season, I had some hopes. I don't want to say high hopes. I nearly said it, but I had some hopes for this club, but that's just died. It's just killed off. And I think you can see how deflated I am all of a sudden. But yeah, guys, look, I'm going to end things here. Hopefully you did sort of understand where I'm coming from. I don't know if enjoying the video is a particular word I want to use, but if you did like the video, if you can leave a like on the video, is probably more suitable, just leave a like on the video if you found this sort of video entertaining or useful. Make sure you subscribe too. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. I think we're just over 200 subs away, so go ahead and do that. Plenty more content to be made too in terms of State of Origin and stuff, so stay tuned for that. Also, I want to give a special mention to my members. I've been talking about the Bulldogs members and how I don't think they get appreciated. And we have the captain coming out and sort of shit talking everybody about leaving and all that sort of stuff. But I just want to emphasize, guys, if you're a member of this channel, I definitely do appreciate you. If you're a super chatter, I definitely do appreciate you. And I think you kind of know that, but I just wanted to reinforce that. Because I just seen the Bulldogs captain come out and kind of shit on the fans. So I just wanted to reinforce that. So guys, appreciate you. My social media is on the screen right now. It feels weird saying this, but yeah, my social media is on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT. Give me a follow, give me an ad. And stay tuned for more content on the channel. Like I said, getting things here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.